Okay, students, let's finish this up. This is a Kibby and Strand analysis. All right. The reason that we're doing this is we're trying to forecast profits on any of the contracts that we're bidding on. Okay, that's the real reason. You're trying to use this proactively when you get a list of contracts, and I'll go over there right now if I can find it. Where to go? Where's it? It should be this one right here. And right here. Okay, so here's Kibby and Strand running. Okay, it's live. I actually have it running here. And we have 5 contracts down at the bottom. We have T-shirts, sports shorts, White Sox, low-rise jeans, and Bermuda shorts. Okay? We're trying to decide whether this thing is going to be, any of these contracts in particular are going to be profitable. So at the first, when we start, we're not really forecasting. We're looking at what we got stuffed with. We got these 5 contracts from the previous management that got started, and you really need to go in there and figure out what kind of material do you need them. You need to order material for these T-shirts and order material for the sport shorts. Do you have to schedule them onto the production floor, or was that already done when they left? Okay, so you have to run this as like you own it, run the business. You have to ask, what are the critical questions here? Got to get your arms around the 5 contracts that we have in there. Okay, and that's where when we look at our file. Okay, the first 5 I started, we kind of color-coded it a little bit here too. Okay, so these are the first 5 contracts. I'm going to finish working through the T-shirts here. Okay, but for week 5, you need to work on these other rest of these 4. Okay, and go in there, get the information, and figure out whether it's profitable or not. All right, so what we did is our first section is actually labeled 0. Our 0th section is the preamble. Okay, and we're going to put some. We're going to put some information in the preamble here that we might use later on. It's just getting us going. Okay, so the first of 3 cost areas that we're going to track is going to be raw materials. The second one is going to be cycle costs on the production floor. And the third one is going to be shipping costs, right? Okay, that's what we decided. We had a bigger list and we worked it down to this. And we want to remember that labor can be a really big costs that we're not tracking. We're compromising here. Our model, we're not going to track or forecast the labor. It's a little bit difficult to accommodate the fact that your workers start and stop in different areas. You can be moving them around. Some products use some of the functions on the production floor, and each production area, the 7 different machines that you have. In a perfect world, you would have 1 person on every one of those processes or machines, all right, which is 7. You'd have 7 in there. Do you really need to carry 7? Well, that could be the difference between attaining goal or not attaining goal, all right? Okay, so I'm just trying to bring us up to speed where we left off from week 3, okay? So we have a preamble. The first section is going to be raw materials. The next section is going to be cycle costs, and if we look, we actually did that calculation. And, what we've noted before is that we want to keep track of the absolute dollars, the costs in absolute dollars, but we also want to understand the percentage impact or the assignable relative amount of any one of the 3 costs we're tracking with regard to the contract value. So we have the contract value here, and we're going to divide that with our raw material costs here. So the raw material costs divided by the contract value gave us 5%. Okay, so 5% of the contract goes out as raw material when you're making T-shirts. Okay, so if we get other T-shirts contracts to bid on, maybe we do, maybe we don't want to go on T-shirts if there are other options. Okay. Okay, so we got through. There's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas here. Remember, we're trying to calculate cycle costs. So that the way that we did it was methodical. We went into Excel and we created 7 columns, 1 column for each of the processes. All right, and we went into the production floor and we looked at ordering machines. What we did is to figure out how many cents per cycle it costs. We looked at each machine individually. We recorded that in here. And if you remember, we used this down here as a table. Okay, we pulled the table off to the side. And if you remember, what we have in here are actually equations down to our table. So if one of these numbers changes or we made a mistake, you can always fix it. You can just go back into one of these cells here. We did escape here. Okay, so you can go into, we can go to one of our cells here, and if we had made a mistake and it's not 10 cents but it was 11 cents, we could change it here. Okay, it's a good way of doing spreadsheets, is use a little table here so that you don't have to go fix it. If you had a mistake, you don't have to fix it all the way through, figure out where that happens, right? So we figured out that there's four processes for t-shirts, and we grayed out the 3 areas or the 3 processes that t-shirts do not use, okay? And we added those together, and we came up with 65 cents, okay? So 10 is 30, 45, 65. If you add those up, 65 cents. Then we multiplied that by 1,800 shirts we have to make. Okay, that's just the quantity back here. There's the 1,800. Okay, there's the 1,800 there. Okay, so we just multiplied the unit cycle cost of 65 cents a shirt times 1,800 shirts, and we get $1,170. Okay, and is that a lot or little? Well, what we're doing is we're preparing for when we have more of these contracts figured out. We're gonna hold on to the absolute dollar value. That's the profit. I'm sorry, that's the cost of the cycle costs. All right, and then compared to the contract value. And again, so what we did is we took the contract cycle costs and we divided that by the contract value. And we came up with 16.25%. And we're already able to say things, okay? We can say that the impact of production, the cost of producing on the factory floor is over 3 times, right? There's 16. It's over 3 times the cost of raw materials, okay? 16 versus 5% of the contract, okay? So if you're going to save money, you'd probably want to save money in the production floor, all right? Because there's more costs to work on. There's 16.25% there. Okay, so now let me clean up the next part. This next part is going to be section 3. We're getting there. We have to do shipping costs. I have said shipping right there. And then we have to do section 4, which is the sums or totals of the expenses, and we're going to calculate what the profit is, all right? So let me remove all this. All right, let me get all that. You know what? I can get even more. Nope, I don't know if it worked or not. Let me try that again. I don't think it worked. Oops. Looks like it was selected, but it wasn't. All right, what do I want to get rid of? Okay. So I'm going to get rid of just about anything. I'm going to clear all this out. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we have a fairly clean slate here. Okay, so what do we have to do to figure out shipping costs? This is going to be shipping costs in here. Shipping. Their shipping costs. So what we need to do is we have to know how much does each garment weigh. And did we put the weight in there yet? No, we did not. Okay, so in our preamble, we don't have the weight. Well, I happen to know that a t-shirt is half a pound. So let's put in here unit garment weight. Okay. Unit garment weight. Okay, so how do you find that out? Let's go look here. I'll shut off the sound. And we're going to look. One place to find it is on. You can either double click the contract itself, or you can go into the research desk, go to products tab under cotton. We're going to look for the t-shirts. There they are, and it's going to tell us it's a half a pound a piece. There's going to be half a pound there, right? So the unit garment weight, we're just going to punch in there as half a pound. Okay. Center that up. Just do a little bit of formatting as we go along. It's going to look nice as you continue. So the unit garment weight, okay. And how much is the contract weight? How much is the weight for the entire contract that goes out there? Well, what's that going to be? It's just going to be equals to the quantity, which is 1,800, star the individual weight of every t-shirt. Okay, so the weight is 900. Now, how do we figure out shipping costs? Well, we're going to come down to the shipping desk, and we're going to take a screenshot. And all I'm going to do is cut out this table and put it in my Excel file, because I'm going to use that quite a few times, and it's nice. Let's just bring it over and put it right in the Excel file here. All right, so now I have the table right there. All right. Okay, so now it's going to be shipping costs. All right. What are the shipping costs? Well, if our contract is 900 pounds, all right, so it goes small goes up to 99.99. Large goes from there up to 250. And then you have freight. So we're definitely in the freight area. Okay, so we're just forecasting. And let's say we have things under control. We're going to go with standard 2 week. So it's going to be equal to $175. That's your fixed cost plus 40 cents. So that's 0.4 times the poundage. So our shipping costs are $535. Okay, so I'm looking at that. I'm going to turn that into an accounting cost. And I'm going to get rid of the decimal places. When you have larger numbers, the pennies may not interest you. No, you could leave them in there. Doesn't really change much. But generally, I'm going to take them out for that number. Okay, so shipping costs. Great. We just got done with section 3. We have 4 sections. The third one's named 3. Okay, so now get rid of that a little bit here. Okay. Now, not only do we have to do shipping costs, and the convention has been put a dollar sign in front of things that are dollars. Okay. And we're going to drag that to the right. And now we're going to figure out what the contribution, the percent contribution, where's my percent sign? Percent contribution of total costs are the shipping costs. And it's just simply divide 535 by the contract value. I'm going to race over here and grab the contract value, which is there, right? Okay, and I'm going to format that as a percentage. And in this case, I'm going to add a couple decimal places. I do want to see some decimal places there, okay? So what else did we do? Okay, so see we have this pale yellow here. Okay, so we want to paint these columns the same color, and I'll show you how to do that. If you grab this section, it's going to be the same shape that we want to be made yellow, okay? So what I did is I said Control C. I was over here where it's yellow, and all I want to do is copy the formatting here over to these columns. All right, and so I could do a Control V. No, I don't want to do a Control V. I want to get these selected again. I tweaked off there. All right, if I right-click it, once that section is highlighted, after I selected that, I'm going to use the paintbrush. I'm selecting just copy the formatting, okay? And what it did was it blew away our formatting here, okay? So the contract, wait. Am I copying the wrong thing here? Nope. I just want to turn them yellow. And when I copied over the formatting, I lost the accounting formatting here, as you would expect. And I'm going to reduce the number of decimal places back to where we had it. I just fixed a little problem there, right? Okay. All right. Now what do we want to do? Now we want to add up the costs, all right? By the way, while we're looking at the numbers, the shipping cost is about half as much as the production floor cycle costs, right? 7.43% of our contract value went out as shipping, whereas 13.75, that's roughly half or twice, depending on which way you're looking at it. But our shipping costs are about half of what the cycle costs are. We start developing a familiarity and valuing some of the nuances of our data when we start looking at that, okay? So the cycle costs were over 3 times the cost of raw materials, and it was 2 times the cost of shipping. So that's the kind of things that you want to know. You want to have a ratio kind of thing built up here. Okay, so now we have to do some subtotals. So what we're going to do is we're going to say total expenses. All right. And I meant to put a dollar, not put a dollar here. Put dollar. Okay, so that's going to be our total dollar of expenses. And then I'm going to grab that. I'm going to drag it right to the right. Just edit it and put in the percent symbol. Okay, just that reminds us what we want to do there. Okay, so this is pretty easy. We just have three costs. We're going to add them up. All right, now I'm even going to go from right to left. I'm going backwards. I'm going to say this. Oops, this is equal to cost of shipping plus the contract cost of $9.90 plus the raw materials. What was the cost of the raw materials? $3.60, right? I hit enter, and it says the three of those expenses comes out to $1,885. All right, there's something a little suspicious. I have to see if this is correct or not. Did we introduce an error here? Contract. Okay, so 1,800 times. Yeah, something went wrong here. Okay, I made a mistake somewhere. When I was talking, I must have entered. I could tell there was a number that wasn't correct here. So the cost of the cut. Okay, this had been. Somehow this got deleted. All right, this was 10 cents. That's what the problem is. Okay, down in my little table while I was talking to you, I accidentally deleted that. This looks better. It looks like the numbers I was expecting again. All right, and then when we do a subtotal, it comes out to 2,650. All right, but what is that relative to the contract value? So here we go. We're going to go back over the contract value, divide it by the contract value. All right, and what do we get? All right, so we have 28.7% roughly. Let's put that into percent and add a couple of decimal places, right? Okay, so all of our expenses were 28% of the contract. Okay, that's fine, but what we really want to do, where this was sum and totals, this is going to be end up being our profit. What we're really interested in is not our expenses. We're looking at our profit. Okay, and then we're going to copy this to the right. And we want not only the hard dollars, but we want to know what our margin is. If we put a little percentage in there, we're going to look at the margin. How did we do on t-shirts? Okay. All right. So how do we get the profit? It's just going to be equal to, right? It's going to take your contract value. There's your contract value over there, and subtract out your expenses. That's all we're doing here. Nothing tricky. Basic business. All right. And what do we get? We made $5,135 on a $7,200 project. Okay, so let's find out percentage-wise what our margin is. So it's going to be equal to that divided by what? Divided by the contract value, right? Relative to the contract value, how big is your shipping? All right, contract value right here. Okay, and I am going to turn that into a percentage, add a couple decimal places. All right. So when we see all that work that we went into, okay, first of all, I'm going to color this smashing gold, really loud gold, because that's our really ultimate final calculation here. And this one, I'm just going to paint. I did it the other way last time, but I'm just going to select it. It actually gives me a little palette here of colors I've used. I'm going to click on that. All right. In fact, I'm going to darken that up. There's more options than I have to go over to these more color picker, and I'm going to pick a little bit darker here. And maybe you can see that in the video, but these are three different colors. All right, that middle one is just a little bit pale, more pale than the gold. All right. So if you follow what we were totally after was, we just wanted to know how much we were making. So now we know that. All right. That comes with the caveat. Hey, let's throw something in here. Okay. Okay, let's throw a note in here. The compromise is we are 1, ignoring labor costs, right? And what was another big one in there? If you kind of take a look in there, the holding costs were significant. We are ignoring, I should put in there, ignoring holding costs in our calculation. We're compromised, all right? All right. So this gives us, why did we do this? We picked 3 costs that were pretty assignable to the contracts. We'll get an accurate number out of this. All right. What were they? They were the raw material, production floor cycle costs, and shipping. Okay. We're there. Okay. Yay for us. We're there. All right. Now there's a few more formatting things here. Okay. I'm not going to put in here. But what I'd rather have you do is you're going to go over to Who Knew It. Okay. In my intro video, I explain where to go to Who Knew It, and you're going to learn how to validate things like what the garment is. What are the very limited number of garments that we have? Well, I'll put in a little 22 here as a note that there are 22 different garments. So you're going to do the Who Knew It and figure out how to come back under garments and make sure somebody always types these in the same way. Okay, so maybe multiple people use this file, maybe a lot of different people use this file or the database underneath it, and they enter a different word. You know, what if one user says T-shirt and another is using T-shirt? This happens in companies all the time, right? So how do you make sure you force them to use the validated, legitimate possibilities here in all this? So you have to watch the Who Knew It. It's data validation. That's what you're going to want to do. And once you watch the video, come back here and set garment, customer, and material up as validated cells. All right. Okay. You want to use it. In other words, you want to apply what you learned in Who Knew It. Okay. And you're going to then you're going to also finish this contract, this contract, this contract, and this contract. When you get done with that, you're going to be able to see the most important column will be here, right here. And you're going to be able to see, you know, some contracts might have very expensive material, and it might be 15% of the contract, not 5. This provides data analytics. We can now look at this, order them, sort them, filter them, and yeah. Okay. That's one part of it. But ultimately, you're interested at sort of the macro or the micro level where you want to know each of the 3. How did the contracts compare individually on each of the 3 cost centers that we're looking at, right? But really, at your bosses from whom you're going to be creating the report, they really just want to see this. They want to see how much money are we making, okay? Honestly, really, in real life. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. I didn't want this to go too long. I'm going to save this out, and I'm going to be giving you a link to both the instructions for what to do, which I've mentioned here, and also for getting the Who Knew It done. All right. And that's it for now. Send me questions. I'm going to make this due really Tuesday night. You want to do this during the actual period that we have our meeting. You have to be disciplined on this one and do some hard 3 hours on the instructions that I gave you. All right. But I'll make the assignment due. Let me think about that. You're coming into Thursday. I'll actually make it like Wednesday night. I'll make it Wednesday night, so everybody should have this done. That way you can also ask me questions by email. All right. Hope this all helps.